What's up, everyone? On today's episode, I'm going to talk about all of the Week 11 injury updates coming right up. And what is up, everyone? Today is Saturday, November 21st, 2020, and I'm Chip. I'm the host of the Gridiron Fantasy Football Podcast, and on today's episode, I just want to go over all of the current injury updates for Week 11. Like I said, every week I try to do this every Saturday. I try to do this as late as I can to make sure you have all the updated information. So with that being the case, let's get into all of the injuries and all the ins and outs for Week 11. And let's start off with all of the players that will be playing in Week 11. Let's start off with the quarterback position. As of right now, we have Matthew Stafford. He's good to go. He's been dealing with an injury, but it looks like he is going to start in Week 11. Same thing for Drew Lock. Drew Lock was dealing with a rib injury. Now he is slated to play. The tough matchup, but he will be able to play this week. But more than likely, if you have Drew Lock in your league, you're not playing him. Maybe in a 2-quarterback league, but in 1-quarterback league, that's not a guy that you're going to play. But I have to go over all the injuries so you have all the updates. And then going to the running back position, James Robinson of the Jacksonville Jaguars, he was dealing with a little bit of a shoulder ailment. He's good to go. It doesn't seem to be serious, so he's good to go to play this week. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he was dealing with an illness that was non-COVID related. He is good to go for Sunday. And then looking at Alvin Kamara didn't practice all week. So he did practice, but he was at limited participation. So he got back to practice on Friday, which is good news. When he popped on the injury report, I never felt like his injury was going to be something that would keep him out. I know a lot of people freaked out because he is the number one running back right now in fantasy. But these players get veteran rest days, so just because he didn't practice doesn't mean that he's necessarily not going to play, but he's good to go to play in Week 11. Matt Breida. So Matt Breida was supposed to take over for Myles Gaskin when he got injured. He's been dealing with a hamstring injury. It looks like he's going to be back to play in Week 11. Now, we do have Sullivan Ahmed too, so there could be a timeshare there in the Dolphins' backfield. But my guess is that Matt Breida will get some playing time. Now, it's up to you if you want to play Matt Breida. Generally, you're not going to play Matt Breida unless you're in deep leagues or you're dealing with the injury or bye weeks. But Matt Breida will be in for Week 11. Same for Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson was dealing with the illness. This seems to be the trend this week where a lot of players, it is the fall, it is getting colder. On top of having COVID stuff going on, we have just regular colds and flus that take place, but it looks like Duke Johnson is good to go for Week 11. And going on to the wide receiver position, Devontae Adams, he's been dealing with an ankle injury. It didn't look like he was going to play. It kind of popped out of nowhere that he was possibly not going to play on Sunday, but he got to practice in on Friday, and he said he's good to go on Sunday, so he should be without any limitations. And then Calvin Ridley, he's finally coming back from an injury. He'll be good to go for Week 11. Now, same for T. Higgins. T. Higgins was dealing with an illness as well, so he's cleared the illness, so he is good to go. And then going on to the tight end position, Jack Doyle, he's in. He was in the concussion protocol. He passed all the tests. He's good to go. He was cleared. Now, Noah Fant, he's been questionable all week, but the news is trending towards him going to play for Week 11. And then TJ Hawkinson of Detroit Lions, he's been dealing with the toe injury, and he is good to go for Sunday as well. Now, going on to the players that are going to be out for Week 11, starting off with the quarterback position, we all know that Drew Brees will be out for Week 11. Now, he was put on short-term IR, so he's going to miss 3 weeks. So this is where everyone was running to get Jameis Winston, because based on how the game took place last week when Drew Brees went out, Jameis Winston was the starter. Now, this week, we don't know exactly who's going to be starter. First, there was news that came out that Taysom Hill is going to be the starter. Then you got, news that came out late on Friday that it's unsure if he's going to be the starter or not. And I think, honestly, this is kind of a smokescreen. I will not be surprised if Taysom Hill starts the game and then Jameis Winston comes in on the second snap. I think this is what Sean Payton likes to do. He likes to give people, kind of a questionable information and kind of see how the other team, and this is good for him because obviously, if the defense for the Falcons and the coaches don't know who to prep for, then they can't really have a game plan. So their assumption is, okay, well, they're saying Taysom Hill is going to be the quarterback, but then they plan on kind of that running style quarterback, and then they play, Jameis Winston. So it's very interesting. I'm not sure what type of leverage Taysom Hill has on Sean Payton. He must have some like sensitive, personal blackmail type of information, because I just have not seen enough of Taysom Hill. He's 30 years old, and I don't understand how he's that much better than Jameis Winston when it comes to being a pure passer and a quarterback. So very interesting layout what's going on with the New Orleans Saints. And we don't know exactly how that's going to affect Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Jared Cook. Like, that offense is going to be very interesting to watch if Taysom Hill is the starter and he gets majority of the snaps. And there was some news that came out as well that Jameis Winston is not part of any Week 11 packages. So with all that information, it's getting interesting to see if they're actually going to go with Taysom Hill. So it's definitely going to be a very intriguing game to kind of figure out how that's going to play out. But we're going to be dealing with this for 3 weeks, because obviously Drew Brees is on an IR. But like I said, very intriguing. And and the side note of that is that a lot of people are upset about the fact that in ESPN leagues that Taysom Hill is labeled as a tight end and quarterback. So there's a lot of teams who picked up Taysom Hill can now play the regular quarterback and then play Taysom Hill in the tight end position and get the points. Now, I looked on Yahoo. Taysom Hill is only strictly a quarterback. On the NFL app, he's strictly a quarterback. So I'm wondering if ESPN is going to, after this week, designate him only as quarterback if he continues to be the starter. So definitely interesting. Definitely could take advantage of that this week because of the fact that he's designated as both tight end and quarterback. And then going on to Gardner Minshew, he's going to be out. He's been dealing with that thumb injury. He's going to be out, so that means Jake Luton will be the starter for the Jags. Sam Darnold, he's out again with a rotator cuff injury, so Joe Flacco will be the starter this week. At running back, we know Christian McCaffrey, he's out for Week 11. That means that Mike Davis will be the starter. Then going on to Joe Mixon, the Bengals now stated on Saturday that Joe Mixon will go on to the short-term IR, so he's going to be missing another 3 weeks of football, which means that Giovanni Bernard will be the starter going forward, which is very interesting to me because, he has already missed so many games. And if he had a really serious foot injury, it's hard to, if he just had a regular sprain, he should be close to return. He should have returned by now. But the fact of the matter is he has not returned. Then they put him on IR right now, makes me think that either had a fracture in his foot or he has some type of surgical procedure that they're not telling us, because I can't understand exactly that, how he's out for so long if there wasn't anything more than a foot sprain. So very interesting. Hopefully there's more info that comes out about Joe Mixon, because you're usually not out this long. So I'm wondering if there's a fracture or some type of surgical procedure that he's dealing with that we don't know as the public. So hopefully you have Giovanni Bernard to play, because he definitely is going to be the guy that you would want. But the good thing, if Joe Mixon comes back in 3 or 4 weeks, he should be back at Week 14, which if you're able to make the fantasy playoffs, he should be available for you in the fantasy playoffs. And then going on to DeAndre Swift, this was kind of one of those things. He popped up on the injury report into the concussion protocol. The later in the week that somebody's in the concussion protocol, the less likelihood of him playing will be. So DeAndre Swift will be out. I'm pivoting. I'm going to go to Adrian Peterson as the guy who's going to be the starter. I know some people are going to play Kerryon Johnson, but I feel like what we've seen so far this year has been Adrian Peterson, then it was DeAndre Swift, and then it was kind of like that, kind of running back by committee, and then you saw DeAndre Swift finally take the starting role away from Adrian Peterson. I think it goes back to Adrian Peterson. Nothing's certain, but he's the guy that I'm leaning towards if you need somebody to plug and play. At wide receiver, we know Kenny Galladay, he's out again. So he's been dealing with a hip injury. He did practice at a limited basis this week, which is good news. Hopefully he'll be back, for Thanksgiving, because they play on Thanksgiving. So hopefully he'll be back for that matchup, but he will not play in Week 11. Same thing for Danny Amendola. He's going to be out. So it's really Matthew Stafford having Marvin Hall and Marvin Jones and TJ Hawkinson. That's who you got. So I don't think Matthew Stafford's a really good play this week. For the Jags, Laviska Shenault Jr., he's out. He's been out for the last few weeks, which means, you got DJ Chark and then Keelan Cole. And then we have Sammy Watkins. I thought he was going to play this week. It looks like he's out for another week. They activated Mecole Hardman off the COVID-19 list, so he should be playing on Sunday night against the Raiders. So if you're looking for a boom-bust candidate, Sammy Watkins was that guy that I had in my start sits episode, but Mecole Hardman now becomes that guy because he's the guy that can stretch the field and score at any given moment. It's not consistent, but he still is a guy that you can shoot your shot with if you need to. And then going to tight end, Zach Ertz, he's out, so he got taken off the IR, so he's closer to returning. It looks like he's a little bit more time, but he will not play in Week 11. Now going to the questionable and / probable players for Week 11. At quarterback, we have Teddy Bridgewater. So Teddy Bridgewater has been dealing with a knee injury. There's some optimism that he can play on Sunday. He'll test his knee out, see how he feels. But if he can't go, PJ Walker will be the guy who starts in his place. Now, if that's the case, you're probably not going to play PJ Walker unless you're like in a 2-quarterback league or in a super flex league and you need that spot. But hopefully, Teddy Bridgewater can play. And that running back position, the New England Patriots brought Sony Michel back off of IR. So that makes me wonder about Damian Harris because I have Damian Harris as a questionable / probable player this week too. So usually, we know like Damian Harris has been the starter. We had Rex Burkhead as well. So now you're looking at, okay, what do we look at here? Is Damian Harris going to be active for Week 11 because they now have Sony Michel? And Sony Michel did travel with the team. So my guess is Sony Michel will be active for Week 11, which will obviously hurt Damian Harris's upside. So now that kind of changes who you play in this game. So if you want to take the risk, you have to pay attention to the players that are active and inactive for this game. There could be a chance that Damian Harris gets an inactive status and Sony Michel is active. So, the last few weeks since Sony Michel has been on IR, you played Damian Harris. You haven't been really totally disappointed. He's been decent. So it looks like now they may be bringing Sony Michel back. So really sucks for Damian Harris's upside. And then going on to wide receiver, I have Allen Lazard here. Allen Lazard, he was supposed to play the Thursday night game against the 49ers. He did travel with the team. He was going to play last week. They decided to keep him out for another week. So my guess is he will play on Sunday. My guess is he will obviously try out, in pregame how he feels, and hopefully he will be active, which obviously will hurt Marquez Valdes-Scantling because of, I feel like, Devontae Adams is playing, obviously. So then, Allen Lazard was the number 2 that Aaron Rodgers liked going to. So I feel like this is going to be a hit to Marquez Valdes-Scantling's upside. And then wide receiver for New England Patriots, N'Keal Harry, it looks like he is questionable and probable to play on Sunday as well. At tight end, Irv Smith Jr., it looks like he can come back for this week against the Cowboys. Now, if he cannot play, obviously I think Kyle Rudolph is the pivot. Now, my guess is you're not playing any of these tight ends. I hope you're not playing any of these tight ends, but if you're in a pinch, pay attention to that game as well, just because I think that if Irv Smith Jr. is active, he's the guy and the tight end I would play in that offense. And then when it comes to the game time decision players, honestly, there hasn't been anything right now that is available for this designation. I think everyone that has been talked about is more than likely going to play if they're not out. So those are all the injury updates for Week 11. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below of any injuries, any start-sit questions. I'll be answering everyone that posts a comment. So if you do want to respond to me on social media, you can find us at the Gridiron Pod on Twitter and Facebook. We're at Gridiron Fantasy Football on Instagram. So that's it for today. Come back on Monday when I give you all my Week 11 reactions plus all the fantasy studs for Week 11. So that being the case, good luck this week. Hopefully you'll be able to get that win. And we'll see you on Monday. Take care.